What's going on, everyone? So welcome to the latest ranking video. Of course, this is my series of Academy Award Best Picture winners. You know it. I've done the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and of course, if you're new to my channel, this is where I focus on each decade and rank the Best Picture winners from worst to best. Now, 1980s, guys, you clicked on the video, you know that's what I'm doing, and the 1980s obviously had 10 Best Picture winners, so I personally am going to be ranking it from 10 being the worst to 1 being the best, and of course, my opinion. So, curious to hear your guys' thoughts on your list. Let me know in the comment section down below. Very much so appreciate it. But guys, with all that exposition aside, let's get started. So, my number 10 is Out of Africa. I was able to say in the 1970s that I loved every Best Picture winner, but 1980s, I gotta say I did not like Out of Africa. It's a curious choice for sure, especially considering that The Color Purple came out the same year. I don't understand why Out of Africa won. It's so glacially paced to the point of where I did not care about what was going on. I like character studies. I like movies that take place in nature. I think it's very fascinating, but I feel like the cinematography does a lot of the heavy lifting in this movie, truth be told. I feel like that and acting aside, there's not much to write home about this movie. I was severely disappointed by this movie, and that's why it is my number 10. But yeah. Number 9 is Ordinary People, and I gotta make the joke. It's an ordinary movie. It won Best Picture over Raging Bull. What the heck, Academy? Like, seriously. Ordinary People, it's not a bad movie. Again, it's so ordinary. It's got good acting. There's some plot beats which are interesting. Some are haven't aged the best, I feel like. It's well shot. It's not great, in terms of cinematography, but it's passable. And the score's okay. But again, it's just an okay movie. So it's a movie when you look back, you're like, this is the best movie in 1980. I don't know. I feel like it's head scratching, honestly. But yeah, that's my number 9. My number 8 is Gandhi, which Gandhi actually, ironically, fun fact about Gandhi. Gandhi has Daniel Day-Lewis in it. Brief part, but he's in it. It's his first movie, which is interesting. Gandhi is Ben Kingsley's movie. Ben Kingsley is incredible in the lead performance. He is the glue that makes this movie work to an extent. Do I think this movie is a little too long? Absolutely. I do think that there are several scenes that are way too slow, but in terms of what it's going for, I feel like it's very interesting, and I think that it's a movie that you have to watch at least once because of its historical merits. I feel like it's a movie you watch and you just let it wash over you. You let the cinematography wash over you, the lead performance, and it's not necessarily an enjoyable movie, but, history isn't always enjoyable. There's always stuff in history that happens where it's like, I kind of want to forget about that, but it's important not to forget these things so that they don't happen again. And I feel like the message of Gandhi, that being it, I think it's interesting, and I think it's a movie's message that is important, which is why it's a little bit higher up than Ordinary People and Out of Africa. Even though, again, I don't think Gandhi was the best movie that year. It's a year where E.T. came out, Blade Runner, which I think should have won. So it's good. Watch it once. It's good for what it's going for. And that's my, of course, number 8. Excuse me. My number 7 is Driving Miss Daisy, which I know. It's like, why do you have Driving Miss Daisy over Gandhi? Well, hear me out. Driving Miss Daisy has its flaws for sure, but I'm entertained by it. I feel like it's a movie that I won't watch again just because every time I think about it, it reminds me of, Green Book. And Green Book's not bad, and I'm not going to talk about that, but I just think about, how this movie really hasn't aged that well in terms of messages. It's so simplified of racism. It's a simple idea, but it's just not really done to an extent to where it's showing everything. I feel like it's a movie that you're able to watch with your grandparents and be done with it. It's not a movie that you watch, you chew on all the ideas and all the little moral details that are in this movie. No, you don't have that with this movie. You have a paint by numbers story that is entertaining, which is why I have it a little bit higher than Gandhi, because Gandhi isn't really entertaining, but Driving Miss Daisy is entertaining, even though it is supposed to be having more, historical merits, because, again, it is trying to tackle these ideas that are true to history, unfortunately. So, yeah, Driving Miss Daisy, not a great movie, not even a good movie, but it's an entertaining one. I'll give it that. So, of course, that is my number 7. My number 6 is Chariots of Fire, which let me tell you, I love film scores. If you follow me on Letterboxd, you know it. I love scores to the point of sometimes there's a movie where the score is just so great that I'm able to look past ordinariness. And this is definitely an example of that. But the score for Chariots of Fire is simply incredible. The opening beach scene is awesome. The score just washes over you. I let it take me away anytime I listen to it. It's really good. But again, it's such an ordinary movie and so simplification of what potential ideas this movie could have been tackling more so. It tackles it, but I feel like it just doesn't do so wholesomely. I think it does so in a way where it's like half-baked almost. Good movie though, but not necessarily a great movie or even a Best Picture winner, in my humble opinion. I think it's a movie that, it's good, but not Best Picture worthy to me. So that was my number 6. My number 5 is The Last Emperor. Now, we talk about history. Last Emperor is a good movie. I think this is a movie that, it's long, for sure. A lot of these have been long, but Last Emperor is a movie that you watch once and you let it marinate, and the more you think about it and the more you let it sit, it's a really effective movie. It's beautiful, it's disturbing, it's got interesting messages, it's got interesting characters. It's just a movie that overall on paper you wouldn't think would work in film form, but it somehow does. I would definitely recommend it. It's not for everyone because, again, of the length. And although it's not a movie that's like terribly paced, it is a movie that's glacially paced. Not to the point of like Out of Africa, but it's not like nonstop action. Like if you watch it expecting an action movie, you'll be severely disappointed for sure. But yeah, good movie. Number 4, guys, is Terms of Endearment, which, man, you want to talk about great acting. I think Terms of Endearment is incredible in terms of acting. Jack Nicholson, Shirley MacLaine, they're incredible. The ending is very sad, but very effective, I think, with what it's going for. I haven't rewatched it, and truth be told, I'm not exactly sure why I haven't, because, again, I have fond memories of it when I saw it a couple of years ago. I just haven't rewatched it, but I do think it's a good movie and very effective with what it's going for. I don't want to necessarily, spoil what exactly it's going for, because, there are a couple of surprises at the very end that, I think worked. And that's why it's my number 4. My number 3 is Platoon. Oliver Stone did a great job directing this movie. I'm not a huge fan of this movie, but I do respect it, and I do think it's a good movie, and the filmmaking is top-notch. I mean, you have incredible shot composition. The sound mixing is incredible. Acting is way, 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 way good. William Dafoe is crazy good in this movie. Charlie Sheen's in this. He's good, too. It's a movie that doesn't really have any weak links in terms of the acting, for sure. It's not a perfect movie. But it's still a good movie, and I am glad that it got made, and I am glad that it won Best Picture to some extent. But, yeah, that's my number 3. My number 2 is, I can't believe this is higher up on my list, but you know what? Screw it. I was so entertained by this movie the 2 times I saw it. I saw it recently a couple of years ago. I was still entertained by it. My number 2 is Rain Man, which Dustin Hoffman, man, and, of course, Tom Cruise. Their chemistry, holy cow, it's great. I like the humor. I think the humor works really well. The messages of what it's trying to convey, I think, work to an extent. I think it's a movie that's aged well simply because you're able to look at the buddy comedy factor so much, especially these days, because it works so well. In terms of like how it handles the autism, not quite sure. Nor am I like a expert on the subject matter, but I'm not quite sure if Dustin Hoffman pulled it off. I think he was great in the role, but again, that's from my perspective. I think he did a great job with what he was trying to convey. And from what I've heard during the time period when it came out, apparently it was pretty effective and worked really well. So I'm curious to hear if, how accurate, it is, like, with how he portrayed him. But still, Dustin Hoffman did a great job. Tom Cruise was typically great. Similar to Driving Miss Daisy, Hans Zimmer, early Hans Zimmer, I should say, did the score for Rain Man and Driving Miss Daisy, and his score for Rain Man is really, really good stuff. But yeah, it's my number 2. My number 1 is, here we go, guys, Amadeus. I love Amadeus. It's the only 1980s Best Picture winner that I actually own, where I'm like, I can see myself rewatch this, man, so many times. And I have seen it. I've seen it so many times. I own the director's cut. I've seen the theatrical cut once, and I liked it. But on Blu-ray, they only really had the director's cut, so kind of forced to watch it. But still great. Those 20 minutes really do add a lot. I think what's effective is that this movie works on so many different levels, so many different genres. And, you know, those are always the best kind of movies because you can show it to anyone and I think they'll have some kind of appreciation for it. It's a bit lengthy at 180 minutes, but it works like a charm, man. I was so entertained by it. I really found the messages and story interesting. And I think that same director that did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, I think Miles Forman is a director that doesn't really get much credit, which is unfortunate, but he is a great director. I mean, with the span of 10 years, he did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Amadeus. It's pretty darn awesome, I gotta say. But yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching. As always, I really do appreciate the support. A little heads up, so the 1990s, 2000s, and 2010s Best Picture winners, I'm going to be actually having someone on my channel for all three of those. So 1990s, Carlos Misfit Pond, great YouTuber, will be on here. Surya will be on here for the 2000s, also a good YouTuber. Shout out, he's the one that I ran into at the theater in that one video I was telling you guys about. And then 2010s, Larry from LC Screen Talk is going to be on my channel. So I'm excited for these collaborations because these are all three YouTubers that very much so respect, and I always love really seeing their videos, as well as obviously the reviews on Letterboxd. Great stuff. So stay tuned for that, guys. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.